Hi, Soul Family. This is Melanie, the Spirit Doula. For all the people that are new to my channel, welcome to my channel. So I'm so excited. This is part 3 of a 3-part series that I have been working on. I'm entitled The Soul Family. And this particular part is going to delve into the ancient texts that support the soul family. And this one is actually entitled The Chosen, which is a name that I was given upon me rising this morning. So I'm so excited to bring this to you guys. I'm so excited to also wrap this series up. Not that I'm excited to wrap it up, like I'm, don't like it or anything, but it's been about a week. I wanted to, finish this last week, but I was told to wait. There's some more information that you had to get. And through some experiences that I personally experienced and some other soul family members have experienced, I understand fully, why I had to wait in order to do this video, along with the fact that this morning I was up receiving more downloads with regards to this. So it's been a lot of studying, a lot of note taking, and my goal is to get this information to you in a way that is a way that anyone is able to understand this, whether you are new to this or highly experienced with this information. Okay, so the first thing that I want to explain, I want to explain a couple of words because a couple of people have asked me what did I mean by that. And the first one is occult. So when I say occult, I'm not saying a cult. I'm saying occult, O-C-C-U-L-T, which basically means hidden knowledge, hidden secrets. It is not like occult, things that we are conditioned to think are bad. Okay. The second one I want to mention is the word Gnostic. So Gnostic means basically anything that is esoteric, spiritual, mystical, hidden truth. And I will be reading from some Gnostic texts. So the Gnostic texts that I'll be reading from, most of them are unfamiliar to you because they were actually either hidden or they just came about in the last century or so. Okay. All right. So with that said, let's get into it. I have notes. There's so much that I have to go over. There's so many things that I have to read. So be patient with me. If you want, you can grab a pen, a piece of paper, pencil, piece of paper, and take notes along with me, or you can always rewind this. I am going to provide you with the books that I'm reading from. I believe that any good teacher should be able to support what it is that they're teaching and should be willing to share the information. Again, guys, I always say don't believe the hype. If you are learning from someone and they can't tell you where they got their information from, unless they channeled it. But if they're not willing to even share that or share their sources, then, be kind of, leery of that. All right. So let's begin. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Dead Sea Scrolls, because most of the books that I'm dealing with, the texts that I'm dealing with, come from the Dead Sea Scrolls. And so the Dead Sea Scrolls basically were found in the middle of last century, in the 1950s, I want to say, in Qumran, in the Qumran caves of Syria. So you will hear me referencing to some of the books as Qumran. I'm not saying Quran, okay? I'm saying Qumran. So they were found by basically a herder, and there's multiple caves. And so as they were being found, these people were selling them. So they began to be dispersed amongst the world, amongst wealthy people that wanted these ancient texts. So this was good and this was bad. The bad part about it is that there are fragments all over the world. Now, when I say fragments, they were written like on leather almost. They were literally scrolls. And they were not intact. They were weather worn. So they're like pieces that are like missing, or some will be this big or like just odd shaped. And so a lot of the text is actually missing because it's been washed away by the weather, by the wind, just gone. Okay. So that's not good that they've been dispersed, but the good part about it is that they have been dispersed, which means that they were not in the hands of one singular group of people, which means that they were not really tampered with. They did not have the chance to be tampered with, which means that there's some truth in this. There's a lot of truth in this. People weren't just writing books randomly. And the other thing is that some of the information in this is just so like unbelievable, to the fact of things that you've never heard of before. The first time I read some of the Dead Sea Scrolls from the Nag Hammadi, I was just so shaken, and so I was literally scared. I had to put the book down for months because it went against everything that I was taught. Everything that I was taught about the world and God and the universe, it went against everything, but I knew that there was truth in there. And so it scared me. It literally like shook my foundation. I had to put it down and just, I'll get back to this at another time. And whenever you have, and I'll talk about codings, but whenever you have things like this, you don't just sit and just read it from front cover to the back cover. You do have to be inspired on where to go, what to look for, and even how to decipher it, because not everyone can decipher these texts, and it was made that way, and I will get to that. Okay, so the interesting thing about this is that, so I told you that several caves, they were found in the middle of the century. A bunch of millionaires, billionaires bought them up. Most of them ended up in museums. Well, in 2002, so there was the original shepherd guy who found them, and then a family purchased them originally. Well, the family members in 2002, no one knew about these copies, but apparently they had like 85 fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls that they still had possession of. And in 2002, and I keep saying 2002 because there's been multiple awakenings, and that year was a particular one, 2002, where a group of souls came in. And so the family decided to sell them, okay? And again, they went around to various people. All right. What's interesting about this is that there has been an effort to discredit these particular scrolls. And my first thought is because of the truth that resides in them, okay? Especially some of the books that are known as apocalyptic books, okay? So now let's get into the first one, which is the Nag Hammadi. So the Nag Hammadi is, this is a version of the Nag Hammadi. There are several translated texts of these. What I tell people is I always have several different copies, several different versions, and I compare the two, and I see which one Spirit is telling me this is correct, this is truth, or, so for example, there's some books in here that I also have in this book here, and then I have, this is the Epistles of Barnabas. So I'll have different versions and copies. I also have the entire Dead Sea Scrolls here as well. So I'm going to read from several books that are contained in the Nag Hammadi. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the fact that there are three types of humans, okay? So again, I'm going to reiterate to you, soul family, that not everyone that you see walking around is who or what you think they are, okay? I'm specifically talking about humans. I'm not talking about any other beings that are here. So there are three types of humans. There's a spiritual, there's a physical, and there is the material, according to one of the books in the Nag Hammadi. When I first read this, actually before I first read this, I was having a discussion about different types of people and, you know, soul groups and different things. And when I read this, I was like, I get it. Like, now this makes so much sense to me, right? And so as I read it to you and as I explain it to you, you are going to understand as well. And it's going to also make a lot of sense to you. Okay, so we are in the tripartite tractate. Yeah, some of these books have interesting names. Page 9, well, different pages depending on the book, but it is the tripartite tractate, and it is a section entitled The Three Kinds of Human Beings. Okay, so I'm going to read this to you. Now, humanity came to exist as three kinds with regard to essence, spiritual, physical, and material. The essences of the three kinds can each be known from its fruit, right? You can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. Same principle. So let's talk about the first type, the spiritual. The spiritual kind is like light from light and like spirit from spirit. When its head appeared, it immediately rushed to it. At once, it became a body for its head. It received knowledge straight away from revelation. Okay? So this is basically saying that the spiritual kind immediately attached to truth when it was met with truth. It says light from light, spirit from spirit, right? So in the previous video I did, I talked about constructive interference, right? Something that just resonates with you just immediately. You just know that it's the right thing. So when you hear the truth, it's like you know it. Light from light, spirit from spirit. It's automatic because it is automatically in you, okay? The second type is called the physical kind. And it reads, the physical kind, however, being light from fire, tarried before recognizing the one who had appeared to it, and still more before rushing to him in faith, though it was instructed, moreover, only by means of voice, was content that in this way it was not far from the hope given by the promise. So the second type is light from fire. It is not of the same makeup. It does not have the exact same constructive interference that I spoke about in video in the second part. Okay, so it didn't automatically resonate. Okay, it said it only by means of voice, which means that it was able to hear something or read something, right? This is like you just have the spiritual type just has a knowing, right? And the physical type is like, okay, I read that or you told me that, but they don't have that inner knowing. They are literally light from fire. So they are not the same as the spiritual, which is light from light. Okay. And then you have the third type, the material kind. The material kind, however, is alien in every aspect. It is like darkness that avoids the shining light because it is dissolved by its manifestation. Okay? So the material type is just like, they're just totally opposite. They're just not part of either one. They're just totally foreign, totally alien. Okay? So really quick, I'm going to go over the spiritual. So spiritual is the ones who just have this knowing. These are the spiritually gifted, true gifted, okay? These are the ones who don't, you're not asking for these gifts, right? You're not asking to be woken up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and you're having these visions and you're hearing these things. You didn't ask for any of these things. It just is what it is. You just are who you are. This is who you are at the subatomic level, right? So it's just natural to you for you to, when you hear the knowledge, you just naturally gravitate to it, okay? The physical type, these are the types that they are light from fire. So this is not naturally in them, but they're the ones who are like, this sounds good. Okay, so I can do this, okay? So these I consider like the fake woke people, right? The ones who you talk to and they have so much knowledge because they read so many books and they can tell you this author and this book and this and that, but there's nothing inside truly connecting them. They don't have a knowing, okay? They have the information, but don't practice it. They're not prompted to practice it, and they really don't care to. So they put on this false front, right? They may wear the ankhs, or, you know, women may wrap their heads and, you know, they're all spiritual on the surface, but inside they're literally, as I taught before, it's called constructive, destructive interference. There's, at the subatomic level, there's something just not all the way there, okay? And these people are the most dangerous types. And then you have the material. The material is just, they're just alien, they're just foreign. They are just the ones who are just like, you talk to them and they're like, what? You know, like they can totally be presented with facts and be like, okay, just don't, like, just blank stare. Like, these are the ones you don't have the conversations with because they are never going to get it. When you speak to them, they look at you like you're crazy, or like, I'm serious, the blank stares, literally. You can tell them 10,000 times, for example, you know that white Jesus with the blue eyes is really Caesar Borgia, and that's not really the real Jesus, and this whole church thing, the pastor, like, all this is wrong. And they're just like, okay. And then they'll still go to church every Sunday. Like, nothing is penetrating, and you should not waste your time with these people. They are here, they are workers, they're here to do a job, they're here to distract, they're here to be used by archons, whatever. You just leave them alone. It's okay, it is what it is. They are who they are, okay? Now, the thing with the physical ones, these are a little tricky because it's kind of hard to discern, you know? You really have to be vibrating correctly. You really have to know who you are to discern who they are. They are the tricksters. These are the ones used most by the archons to be deceptors to us, okay? And these are the ones that they have a choice. They can say, you know what? I kind of like what this is. I really don't get it, but I want to attach to it. I want to do the work. I want to try, but it's not, they don't have the knowing. It's not innate within them. The gifts are not real within them, okay? These are the people who are the false new agers, okay? Who can reach but so deeply into what this is, okay? So let's talk about them. This says, the spiritual kind will receive, well, us, the spiritual kind will receive complete salvation in every respect. The material kind will perish in every respect, as happens to be an enemy, right? They are completely foreign. The physical kind, however, since it is in the middle, by virtue of the way it was brought forth, as well as by virtue of its constitution, is double, being disposed to good as well as to evil, and the issue that is reserved for is uncertain. So we don't really know what's going to happen with them. It's not for you to try to figure it out or try to even help them. These are the people that go back and forth. They're wishy-washy. Okay. This is not to say that, we do have our ebbs and flows. I have my ebbs and flows. There are some times where I'm, consistent with my work, with my meditation. There's sometimes it's like, I just don't feel like it. Like, I just can't. Not saying that. I'm saying the ones who 1 minute they are going hard, like really hard, and next minute is they walk away and they're easy with it. It's okay. They're okay to be in that material world without feeling any uneasiness. Whereas a spiritual person cannot be in a material world. They just feel like something's not right. They're like a sore thumb. They feel like the black sheep. They feel just weird, when they're in that material world. Okay. All right. They have a lust, so these physical, they have a lust for domination that was given to them in short periods of times. So we also, spiritual ones, we have temporary situations. We can have temporary situations of success and extreme failure, but it's okay with us. We don't really sit in ego with that. Physical ones have an ego issue. These are the ones where they are in ego. When you can tell, like, they're at all the events, right? And they're kind of like, well, I want to speak because I'm the such and such and such, and I know this and that and the other. And so self-righteous, ego is at a forefront with them, right? Whereas a spiritual one is kind of like, I'm not sure, like, I don't know enough, and maybe I don't speak well, and they know who they are, but they don't have that ego issue as much as a physical one does. Okay, so those are the 3 types of humans, okay? Remember that. Spiritual, physical, and material. So how do you know who is the spiritual one? Well, the first thing is by their fruit. So we're going to go back into the tripartite tractate. And I'm going to read something that when I first read this, like, this is one of my favorite, I think it's one of my favorite sections in this text. Okay. So I'm going to take my time and read this. The first part basically is explaining, in order to obtain knowledge and truth, you must endure something. So this is defining the spiritual ones. In hidden and unscrutable wisdom, he guarded the knowledge until the end, until the members of the all would have labored in their search for God the Father. So let me go back to something for a second. Again, these Dead Sea Scrolls, what I have discovered is that a lot of words were missing. So a lot of information was put in. So a lot of times you will see God singular or the Holy One singular, but in another text you will see the Holy Ones or gods, okay, or the all. They will also put he in certain areas where there's not a he or she. So I don't want you to get caught up. Please come out of the box imagining the God that you have been brainwashed your whole life of imagining that to be, because that is not what this means. Okay? Okay. Okay, so whom no one has found by his own wisdom and power. And then he grants them to attain knowledge of his great gift by means of that superior thought and that method which was given them, and which consists in, It is then revealed that for eternity to the ones who have proved worthy of receiving the knowledge, okay? So this is basically saying that this wisdom and power is given without asking for it. You don't have to pray. You don't have to meditate, go through some crazy long initiation. You don't have to do yoga for 10 years or whatever it is. It is just given to you, okay? It just comes when it comes. And you're not prepared for when it comes because you're not even expecting it, okay? The second one is that you will suffer ignorance and pain because you must be trained for it, but it's only temporary. There are lessons that you have to receive at each and every level. So it says it was premeditated. So this was premeditated at the beginning of time, right? That the ones for whom he had planned that they should attain knowledge, as well as all the good things that come with it, should in addition also experience ignorance and its pains, okay? These ones that are going to obtain this knowledge have to endure ignorance. You have to endure pain, okay? Thus, they would taste the things that are evil and would be trained through them. You have to go through these things so that you are trained. These are lessons. Each level, there's a training. There's a lesson that you have to go through, okay? And these things are temporary, all right? In order to obtain the enjoyment of the things that are good for eternity. Okay, so you have to go through these things. You can't escape it. Okay, this experience is going to be painful. It is not going to be easy. Anyone that tells you that the spiritual transformation is so easy, it's so blissful, oh, so wonderful, don't believe the hype. Don't believe them. They're lying to you. They are deceptors. They are the physical ones. They are being used. It is false. You have to go through the pains. You have to go through the ignorance. You have to experience the evils, okay? You just have to do it. It's a part of the process, okay? And then the third one is that this one, the first time I read this, it was really emotional for me. The ornament, the way that you know that the spiritual ones is that, I'm going to read it. The fact that they mark themselves out and are continually rejected and accused by their adversaries is something they carry as an ornament and a marvelous sign of the superior things. Okay? The ornament is like a badge that you carry because you are continually rejected, continually accused by your adversaries, okay? When someone says that there's a spiritual being and everyone loves them, everyone thinks they're awesome, no one is calling them crazy, no one is, rejecting them, they're not the spiritual ones, there's something else. Because you will feel rejection. You will feel rejection. You will feel rejection from your family, from your spouse, from your loved ones, from your children. You will feel rejected at some point if you are a spiritual one. Okay, you will be accused as being crazy or what's wrong with you or, out there, right? You will be accused. This is an ornament. This is a badge that you carry. Okay? And I have learned that it is a badge that you carry with pride. It is an ornament. It's what makes you, what makes you stand out amongst the rest. Okay? And the last part, which says that this was predestined, basically. This knowledge is rightly described as a knowledge of everything that can be thought as a treasure. And to give more knowledge, in addition to that, it is also the revelation of the ones who are known in advance, okay? Again, this is talking about a special group that was known, that was talked about way before, in advance, since the beginning of time, okay? All right, so let's continue. So who are these adversaries and people that are rejecting and accusing? who are these beings? Well, they are the material, and they're also some of the physical, right? The ones who have the big egos, or the ones who really don't know what to do. They're leaning more towards material than physical. Okay. These are essentially the physical ones who are leaning more towards the material are essentially weak. They're weak because they don't want to go through the work. You know, it's not in them naturally, so it's work for them to do this. It's constant work, and they rather just be material. Okay. So I'm going to talk about, let's see, the Dead Sea Scrolls here. So this is a version that I like because it actually it has dots or ellipses where the texts are missing. Some of them that you'll get, they will fill in words, like they'll make up words. This particular book that I have does not. So I'm going to go to the Book of Secrets. The Book of Secrets. Okay. I have all these like tabs here for all the notes that I was taking earlier. Okay. All right. So this is the fourth Qumran 301, fragment 1 in the Book of Secrets, for those of you who are going to study or, you know, read this for yourselves. So this is specifically from an instructor, a sage. We don't know who it is. It doesn't say who it is, but it's someone who is very wise and has great esoteric knowledge, like a Tahuti of sorts. And he says, I shall speak out freely, and I shall express my various sayings unto you. Those who understand parables and riddles, and those who would penetrate the origins of knowledge, along with those who hold fast to the wonderful mysteries. So he's talking about two groups of people. One group who understands parables and riddles, and the ones who are trying to hold on to this, okay? So this is the spiritual and some of the physical beings. So when he said parables and riddles, when I read that, I was just like, parables and riddles. And I remember that it came to me when I was in Colombia. I was prompted a couple years ago to move to Colombia. Didn't know why, but you know, I follow my promptings and I lived there. And while I was there, I understood that I had to go there to separate from this country, to separate from my family and friends. Just me and my daughters. And we lived good while we were there. But I went through the biggest spiritual integration of my life, clearly, where I found out who I was. I learned my gifts. It was the most shocking experience. I was terrified sometimes. I was scared sometimes. It was so much that I got sick a couple of times, and I rarely get sick. But I remember asking, is the Bible real? Because again, like, I grew up in the church. I read the Bible, like, I know the Bible so well. And it was hard for me to conceptualize that if I'm going to be the spiritual being, that the Bible isn't real. And I was told that it is truth and that there's truth in it. And so I was just like, so now I'm really confused. How is it truth, but it's been tampered with so much? And like, I know it's been tampered with because I've read several versions, and clearly there's a lot of scriptures that are missing, a lot of verses that are missing from the Bible. And then I was brought to Ephesians, the chapter about the whole armor of God. And I read it for the first time, that one, and there was a chapter, Corinthians, about love. And when I read it, it was like I read it for the first time, like something switched. And it was like, wait a minute. I had to look at is this a different version? And I realized that I was reading it differently, like something happened. And then I was led to another chapter, and I don't remember which one it is, but it was in Matthew. And the one who they called Jesus, right? I was reading something, and like every 9 words was like the word man. And it was like, I think it was the one about fishers of man or something. And I just started breaking down the number 9 within there. Like I was just like, whoa. And then I realized that what I received is that there are codings. And being in Colombia, I learned so much about codings. The sun is brighter there. There's no chemtrails in the sky. And I remember looking at the sun. You know, we're told don't stare into the sun, it'll make you blind. No. I started looking at the sun. When I was a little girl, I used to try to stare at the sun. Her mother would say, don't do that, you're gonna hurt your eyes. And actually, one of my eyes had become weakened. And so I just felt led to stare at the sun. And as I started staring at it, I realized I couldn't look directly into the sun. And it literally was like a black ball. And I received that. I won't go into that, but I received some information about what that is. And then I started seeing like literally like that. And I was just like, does anyone else see, like, it was like codes, light codes. Okay. Like, so amazing. And I realized that what I learned is that everything around us in codings is codings. And I say this to you guys, that it's not about numbers is something relatively new. You know, number 4, number 5, like that's really new. That's like a couple thousand years old, right? Those are not even Roman numerals, right? That is very new to us. We are surrounded by codings. There's codes all around, okay? Even this mandala behind me, there's a series of codings here and everything. And not everyone is able to see the codings. It's not, you just can't. But there are some that are able. So when I read that, and when he said parables and riddles, I was just like, he's talking about the codings. You're able to decode certain information, period. It's just easy. So you can read the Bible and it reads totally different. And if you try to explain it, because I have tried to explain, like, listen, this chapter, this verse is saying this to someone who's material, and they're looking at me like, okay. And it's like, you don't see this? And they just don't, you don't ever force the issue. So there are codings that are throughout these texts, and they are meant to be hidden. It said that it was hidden until a certain time. This is a time that the codings become decoded, right? That we remember truth, that we are now receiving this information, okay? All right. So the next section, it goes to saying, in 4th Qumran 299, fragment 5, it says hidden things of the mysteries of light. So it further expresses that there are hidden information. Okay, so let me see. I want to read this. Yeah, let's go into this. So this instructor, this sage of sorts, I don't say of sorts, he is, he's a teacher. He basically asks for the second group. Remember, he says, the ones who know the parables and riddles, along with the ones who hold fast to wonderful mysteries. He says, he asks them basically, like, their motivation, like, what are you really trying to do? Like, what is your motivation behind this? And he says, now, what good is a riddle to you, you who search for the origins of knowledge? This is not in you, but what good is it to you? Like, what's really up? Okay. Why is it splendid to you? And then he says, without strength, Okay, so there's parts that are missing. And for example, he says, what is a prince, right? So basically it's like, what are you trying to obtain here by getting these secrets, right? What is your goal here? Spiritual ones just want the knowledge. We just want the knowledge, understanding. No, we're just given the knowledge and understanding, and we just want to get more knowledge, and we're just hungry for more, right? He's saying to them, what is your motivation? Like, like, what's your deal? What's your deal here? And then he says, he's speaking of them, he says, without strength, and he dominates him with a whip that costs nothing. Okay? Without strength, they became dominant. They didn't have the strength, but they became dominant with the whip. Okay? This is specifically talking about those who are phenomelanated. Okay? And I talked about the 3 types of melanin. Well, not on this platform, but there's eumelanin, eumelanin. Those are people who tan, who have brown or dark genitalia, dark eyes, and you have pheноmelanated beings that are do not. They have pink genitalia, for example, light eyes, fair skin. They are pink, essentially. Their pineal glands are calcified. They don't have any. There's just they just can't reach a certain level. It's like, what are you trying to get to? So you who don't have strength, you dominate with the whip, essentially. And he's asking, like, what is your motivation? Okay. So who are these entities? Who are these entities? So we are going to go to the Gospel of Philip and talk about this word that I have used and I've heard other people use as well. And back in the Nog, Gospel of Philip. And I'm going to tell you where this comes, one of the places it comes from, and I'm going to explain to you what it is. These entities are called, that are your adversaries, are called archons. Okay, so you may have heard me say archons, and you may have heard some others say archons. So this is the Gospel of Philip. It is also a Gnostic text. So the archons, this is chapter 54, 1830-31. The rulers wanted to fool people, since they saw that people have a kinship with what is truly good. They took the names of the good and assigned them to what is not good, to fool people with names and link the names to what is not good. So as if they are doing people a favor, they take names from what is not good and transfer them to the good in their own way of thinking, for they wish to take free people and enslave them forever. Okay, so it was a lot of me saying not good, 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 not good. Basically, we're flipping the script. Everything that is good becomes bad. Everything that is bad becomes good, right? Everything is turned topsy-turvy, right? So we're taught lies, we're taught them as truth, and we're taught so-called truth, which are really lies. And the purpose is to take free people and enslave them forever. The goal was to take the truly free people, the spiritual people, and make them slaves, enslave their brains. That is a goal of the archon, excuse me. Okay, that was their goal. But because they don't have knowledge and wisdom, excuse me, guys, they don't realize that there's nothing you can do. You can't slave the people forever, enslave them forever. You can enslave their minds for a period of time, but your period of time will soon be over, which is now. So that's one of the sections in the Gnostic texts that talk about the archons, what they did. They flipped everything, right? So they made white good, black bad. It's actually the reverse. creation comes from triple darkness, okay? All colors come from black, not white. Light comes from white. That's it, okay? Actually, light is devoid of color, whereas black is all things, okay? Just like melanated beings. And I won't go into that because you know, but if you're watching this, you should know by now the genetic superiority of melanated beings. Whereas we were told, our ancestors 100 years ago, that you are inferior, you are from monkeys. That was a lie. In fact, the reverse is true, okay? We were told that our hair was inferior. Our hair is superior. Our nose is superior. Our lips, our body, everything about us. We have melanin that is superior. So much so that they are injecting melanin into their bodies right now. And all right, I won't even go into all of that. Okay. So the goal is basically to trick the spiritual people. These are our true enemies, okay? And archons are able to jump in and out of zombified material people and also the physical ones. So beware of those physical, okay? All right, so let's go back to the Dead Sea Scrolls. We're going to talk more about who these archons are and who these people are that these archons are using that work with the archons, okay? So we're going to the Book of Secrets again. I love the Book of Secrets. Okay. So First Qumran 300, fragment 1A, column 1 and column 2. It says, consider the soothsayers, those teachers of sin, okay? It's telling you be careful of those people, right? I told you guys this before. Be careful of the ones who are always trying to give you that good feeling, trying to make you feel good. And, you know, you're going through something and it's like, everything's going to be okay. And, you know, justifying your ego and, you know, I don't feel like meditating. Don't worry about it. You don't have to meditate. You know, you're going to be fine. You don't have to do that stuff. Just be yourself. Just be who you are, you know? Those people, you know? Why are you always reading? Why are you always studying? You don't need to do that. Just breathe. You know, it comes to you. We are one. We must heal the world. We must save the world. We must save our planet. Mother, Gaia. Just meditate. Just breathe. It's all, just light your candles. Just cleanse your chakras. It's easy to cleanse your chakras. Just breathe and you cleanse your chakras. Those soothsayers, full of it. Okay? As I told you before, it is work. You don't want someone teaching you who's a soothsayer. You don't want someone teaching you who's always going to appease you. Okay? What kind of a parent appeases their child all the time? Again, a real mother is going to correct their child when they are wrong. Check them, okay, when they are wrong. A real teacher is going to check their student when they are wrong, okay? So these soothsayers, that I've been a victim of it. I used to watch some soothsayers on YouTube until I couldn't even bear to hear their voice anymore. I couldn't, because it wasn't resonating with me. I'm going through the most over here. Like, I'm going through hell. And you're talking about just do some downward dogs, some yoga exercises, and it's going to be all good. Like, no, I need some serious help here. I need someone to kick my ass, hold me accountable. Okay? Just ask the angels to come and the angels will help you. Just ask the deities and they will save you. No, no, they are there to assist you, but you have to do the work. You have to go inside. Okay? These soothsayers are wickedness. Someone told me that I did a consultation with someone, and I was so upset because they told me that they literally was paying like a psychic or someone like thousands of dollars. And they kept telling them it's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Yes, eventually it's going to be okay, but it's not gonna be okay until you do the work. I had to do, the hardest work that I had was to clear my heart chakra. When I said that was hellish, it was hard. It was hard. And I needed someone to kick my ass and be like, Melanie, you have to do the work. You're not doing the work. I had to go inside and deal with stuff that I didn't want to deal with, that was suppressed. And when it came up, I had to deal with it over and over and over again. So if you're listening to a soothsayer, listen to what it's saying about that. They are teachers of sin. They are liars. Okay. It says, they are foolish, for the seal of the vision is sealed from them, and they have not properly understood the eternal mysteries. It is sealed from them. Their pineal gland is frozen. They are at a limit. You melanated beings, I'm talking about you, you melanated beings, there's no limit. But to some, there's a limit. And even to some of those physical, there's a limit, because do not have the subatomic makeup. They are not the spiritual ones. Okay? All right. So they cannot understand the mysteries. It will not come to them. They will not receive downloads. It's not possible. It's not possible. And they have not properly understood the origin of wisdom, and they will never understand the origin of wisdom. Okay? Do not be fooled by these beings, guys. Do not. Do not. There's but so much they can do. And this is not a white versus black. Please don't misconstrue that. I'm not saying that. You know me, you saw my last video, even at the scientific level, even at the physical codings, it backs up. All of this is backed up. Okay? I'm talking about those who have a frozen pineal gland, who at the subatomic level do not converge with you, cannot intermingle with you. It is destructive to you. They are literally being ruled by archons. Okay? So can the spiritual ones be fooled? The true spiritual ones, can they be fooled? Okay? So let's look at the treatise of resurrection. So I'm back in one of the Gnostic books of the Nag Hammadi, and we're going to look at this. Okay, this is the treatise on resurrection. Thought and minds will not perish. Okay. This is chapter 46, 19 to 47. We are chosen for salvation and redemption. Since the beginning, it was determined. Again, I keep reading this, you guys. This was predetermined, predestined. I did a video like months ago that says there's no free will. It's already predestined. It's already predetermined. You are who you are. You can't change it. Okay? That we would not fall into the folly of the ignorant, but we would enter into the understanding of those who know the truth. We cannot be fooled. We can be fooled. What does Bob Marley say? You can fool some of the people some of the time, or whatever. Listen, there's but a limit of what we can be fooled. When we fully walk in our gifts, we know the bullshit. Like, you can't. It's so funny because my daughters know, like, it's fruitless to try to tell mommy a lie. If I ate the cookies, let me just tell mommy I ate the cookies. If whatever it is, because mommy's gonna know that I'm lying, because you literally you have that gift. It's like the lie, you're like a human lie detector. You automatically see through the bullshit, but you doubt yourself. You're like, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I need to give them another chance. No, you can't be fooled. Spiritual cannot be fooled. You can't be fooled. Okay? Again, I'm going to read it again. It was determined from the beginning, it was determined that we would not fall into the folly of the ignorant, but we would enter into the understanding of those who know the truth. You're going to enter into the understanding of those who know the truth. You're going to come across those who know the truth. You're going to cross paths. At this time, the soul family is uniting. This year is a 3-year. Soul family members are uniting like never before. You came back at this specific time to get this specific knowledge, to ascend, okay, at this specific time. All right? I'm going to read Gospel of Philip. I'm going to further go into this. Okay. Basically says ignorance, so is ignorance, all right, so ignorance leads to death because those who come from ignorance neither were, nor are, nor will be. Those are the material ones. They weren't. So the all was past, present, future, be, I am, okay? The ignorance, they weren't, they will not be, they just are that. Okay? But those in the truth will be perfect when all truth is revealed. For truth is like ignorance, while hidden, truth rests in itself. Okay? Before we knew, we were just asleep. We didn't know. But when revealed, when we woke up, when we became aware and recognized, truth is praised in that it is stronger than ignorance and error. It gives freedom. Okay? When we were asleep, we were asleep. We were still who we are, right? At the spiritual ones, at the subatomic level, you still were who you were. You were just asleep. But when you woke up, when it really happened, when that switch turned on and it was just like, what is this? Who is that? It was always in you the whole time. And it gave you there's a sense of freedom in all this. I can't express it enough. It doesn't matter like what things can happen. And it's just like, I'm being led. Like I'm on this path. I'm on this journey. Like I'm always protected. I'm always loved. Like I'm good. There's so much freedom in that. I don't have to be subjected to anything. Like at the end of the day, thinking about bills, it's like, you know what? It's really, I'm really worried about a bill or about a diagnosis. Like I can heal myself. Like it's not that deep. Like I don't have to fall into that folly anymore. I don't have to be trapped in that matrix anymore. Coming out of that matrix gives you so much freedom. You see stuff for what it is and it's like a shock, but there's freedom in that knowledge. Okay. So I'm going to read, let's see, the Gospel of Philip again. This is things visible and hidden. So it says, at present, we encounter the visible things of creation, and we say that they are mighty and worthy, and that hidden things are weak and insignificant. It is not. So with the visible things of truth, okay, so they are weak and insignificant, but the hidden things are mighty and worthy. So it's saying the hidden things are actually more powerful than the visible things, okay? Right? So this is my body, my physical body. This is what is visual, okay? But my ka, my higher self, yo, she is something else. She is bad. Like she is mighty powerful. You should see some of the things she does in the astral realm. Like Melanie can't do that. Melanie can't fly yet, right? I can't leap off of buildings and run and dive and do all those things. But my higher self, oh, she is that unseen me is mighty and powerful, okay? That unseen energy, that esoteric is more powerful, okay? All right, so I'm going to go into the book of Thomas. I want to talk about, we talk about knowledge of self, right? That's, that's been a woke phrase, like have knowledge of self, right? And it is true. You have to have knowledge of self. So the book of Thomas actually talks about this. And this is important. And I'm going to delve more into this. But it says here, this is 138, 4-21. For those who have not known themselves have known nothing, but those who have known themselves already have acquired knowledge about the depth of the all. So how do you have knowledge of self? So the first thing we want to do is like, where did I come from? That is black skin. So Africa, Kemet, Atlantis, where am I from? That's the surface level, right? That's at the ego level. We want to know physically. But when this is talking about knowledge of self, it's talking about the inner self, your higher self. Who are you really? Okay? I had to come to understanding who Melanie really was. Okay? That is the most important. And when you have knowledge of self, you have power. And that is the goal, to have knowledge of self. Very important. Again, you have to connect to your higher self. How do you do that? You have to meditate. There's no way around it. I don't know a way around it. You have to meditate. You have to know what that voice sounds like. You have to really know who you are. The only way to do it is to meditate. It's vital. It's like drinking water, okay, at this point. If you're not meditating daily, at least every other day, you should not be going a week. I can't go a week without meditating. I can't. That's like not having guidance, which is foolish. You literally are able to get guidance and you decide not to, right? It's like driving to another state without a GPS now, right? So would you rather open up the map from the gas station, or would you rather just put in the GPS? That's what meditation is, okay? Okay. So something else I wanted to say about this. I do want to express more on having knowledge of self. So I know I said meditation is key. It is. Also understanding yourself and healing yourself, honoring yourself, you know? For those who used to go to church, for example, you know, you would get dressed every Sunday, put on your Sunday best, go to church, give your offerings, pay your tithes, sing the songs, study the Bible, go to the meetings. You did all of that. You spent all of that energy for a deity outside of yourself, right? For those also who do honor who honor your ancestors, which you should, or other deities, you know, you set up these elaborate altars and you give these wonderful gifts and fruits and candies and all kinds of things to these entities outside of you. And you're not the only one doing that. But you are the only you. But you will not dedicate that much time to you. So you'll sit in the church for 5 hours, but you won't take 5 minutes to meditate? So you'll take your time and make this beautiful, elaborate altar and all these wonderful things, and you won't take 5 minutes out to work on a chakra cleanse or chakra healing? Take a class on how to heal your chakras? Do a spiritual consultation with someone that can actually help you? You won't do that? But you'll do everything outside of yourself, thinking that something outside of yourself is going to save you, when nothing outside of yourself can save you. How can something outside of yourself know more about you than you? That is asinine. Know thyself. There's a reason why you have to know yourself. There's a reason for that. It's not just a cool phrase. It's not just to say, oh yeah, because I'm from ancient Kemet, I'm black, I got melanin, I'm rocking the Ankh or whatever. No, it's not about that. Who cares about that stuff? There's millennia that came before Kemet, okay? That is not the beginning of everything. And I'm not trying to harp on Kemet right now, but do you get what I'm saying? It's enough of that. Like it's enough of that. You won't crack a book open and study and really do the work it takes on your, it's you. It's you. You. You have to do the work on you first. You have to heal first. You know if you know it. I don't have to tell you. You don't have to say, do I need a healing? We all do. We have all lived in this construct. We are all going through this awakening process. It's becoming aware. This awareness process. There is work that we need to do on ourselves. We have to fully integrate with ourselves to ascend. Stop spending more time on things outside of you and start focusing more on you, what's inside of you. Okay? All right. So, Book of Thomas. On wisdom and foolishness. Okay. So it says, blessed is the wise person who has sought truth, and when it has been found, has rested upon it forever, and has not been afraid of those who wish to trouble him. So saying, blessed is this person. You found truth, and you're like, I got the truth, that's it. I don't care what nobody says. I know the truth about it, take it or leave it. Listen, I'm not going to your church no more. I had to tell my mother that. Like, mommy, I'm not doing that no more. I'm just not. Why? That is against my truth. It literally is. It doesn't make sense for me to do that. So you're going to be mad at me? Okay. So you think I don't know. Whatever you think, that's fine. I care not. I know truth and I'm good with that. And I don't care what anybody has to say. This is my knowing. This is what Melanie knows. This is my truth. You don't rock with it, you don't rock with it. That's fine. Okay? That's how you have to be. You can't waver. You can't waver. And the true spiritual ones, is difficult when you try to. Again, I said, go on your path or go crazy. When you do that wavering thing, you literally are going through a mental, like it's chaos crazy within you. Okay? You make yourself sick physically. It's not worth it. Okay, so now we're going to go to the excerpt of Perfect Discourse. And this talks about the ignorance of people and being blasphemous. So I'm going to pause right there because I have to get some water. I've been talking for a long time. I am parched. I will be right back. Okay, so family, I am back. So we are going to get right back into it. Well, for you, it's immediate. But we're going to read from the excerpt from the Perfect Discourse, and we're going to talk about ignorance as being blasphemous. Okay. Okay. So it says, Such ignorant people are blasphemers, excuse me. They are godless and pious. There are not many people who are different from this, and godly people are few in number. Okay? That is why there is wickedness among the masses, since learning about what is right is nowhere to be found among them. Knowledge of what is right is truly healing for the passions of material existence, and learning comes from knowledge. Okay? So, because there are so few spiritual ones, that's why wickedness is so massive. That's why it's so widespread. Okay? And when I say wickedness, I'm not saying outright wickedness. I'm just saying the things that are happening in this world that are just wrong, that you know are just wrong, that are just not right. Okay? Because there are not that many, there are so few godly people. Okay? It says, but if there is ignorance and no learning in the soul of a person, then incurable passions persist in that soul. If there is ignorance and no learning, if one is not willing to learn. Now, these are the physical, not the spiritual, these are the physical ones. If they're not willing to learn, then incurable passions persist in their soul. And more evil ones come with the passions in form of an incurable sore. And the sore gnaws at the soul so that the soul produces worms from the evil sore, and it stinks. Okay? So that is talking about the heart. Okay? It is known that the heart is everything. It is like the gateway, say the gateway to ascension, that it must be light, that it must be clean, that it must not stink. Okay? And it stinks from lack of knowledge. It stinks from ignorance. It stinks from not being healed. Okay? So you must heal your soul. You must heal your heart chakra, essentially. Okay. So we're going to go to the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Book of Secrets. Again, I told you I love the Book of Secrets. And we're going to talk about this current age that we are in, the Aquarius age, the age of awakening. Now, the Dead Sea Scroll does not say Aquarius age, but just listen. So again, there are pieces that are missing, but I will read what I have here. It says, and what shall a man understand without knowledge, and without hearing, insight, the impulse of our heart with great intelligence? He uncovered our ears that we might hear. He created insight for all those who pursue true knowledge. And all wisdom is from eternity. It may not be changed. He locked up behind the waters. Okay? So that, not, and it's blank, and then it says the heaven above heaven. Okay? So here is saying that insight, okay, it comes from somewhere divine. Our ears had become uncovered. Where our ears were covered, we couldn't hear. And some are physically experiencing this. Some are physically having ringing and you're hearing things physically, but it also means spiritually, spiritual ears, I'm hearing. Okay? Insight. Insight has been created now at this time for those who pursue true knowledge. All wisdom is from eternity, and it may not be changed. Truth is truth. If you are truth, you are going to connect with truth, right? Remember, light from light, okay? Spirit from spirit, okay? It says, he locked up behind the waters, and then the heaven from heaven, okay? So this was deep for me because when it says locked up behind waters, I was like, what does that mean? So truth was locked behind waters. Well, we are in the Aquarius age right now, the age of truth. This is also the Aquarius, the water bearer, water bearer. At this time, I say it's vital. A lot of people are talking about the water we're drinking. A lot of people are becoming dehydrated. I drink more water than I used to. If you are meditating, if you are channeling, you have to have water. Channel water, okay? There is something said about water. This is the age of water. And it says this here. It was locked behind the waters. The waters are now released. The information is now being released. Heaven above the heaven, right? The heavens are waters. There's waters above us. There's waters beneath us. Okay? I'm going to get into that right now. Okay? All right. So the next main question is, how do we know that this is the time that we are speaking of now? How do we know that these texts weren't talking about 1,000 years ago or maybe sometime in the future? How do we know that it's now that these texts are talking about? Well, there are several ways that we know that this is specifically now. And one of them is the books of Enoch, which talks about a chosen generation. Now, I want to say something about the books of Enoch, because these were also Dead Sea Scrolls. There are, if you go to Amazon and you put the book of Enoch, you will get several options. And some of you are like, I don't know which one to choose. I was one of those people. I didn't know which one to choose. And I was reading a particular book of Enoch, and I was just like, something is just not resonating with me. Something is just not sitting right. It just doesn't make sense that Enoch would be saying God singular. Just the certain things just didn't sit right with me. Let me just say that. And when I went to the Dead Sea Scrolls, what I realized is that there are chunks missing, words missing. And I said, who the heck thought that they had the right to fill in these words with their words? And they were blatantly different, okay? So with that said, I want to impress upon you that you must read from different sources. I have like 2 of each type of book, and I go back and forth. Even as a child, I knew the Bible. My school had the NIV version, and then a church had the King James version, and they were different versions. I even knew then, like, to have several versions of something. Always have a backup. And if you feel uncomfortable about something, question it. Because guess what? If you are spiritual, you're going to be able to discern truth. Okay? So let me show you something. For example, I'm going to show you something. The book of Enoch. So I have this one book here. This one is by Joseph Lumpkin. It's good. He references to Bible verses in here. Again, this is the one that I read, but something just wasn't sitting right with me. And chapter 1. Then when I read the Dead Sea Scrolls of the book of Enoch, I realized that something was indeed wrong. So I'm going to read both to you. So verse 1, let me read verse 2, because verse 2 is what really disturbed me. So verse 2 says this: he took up his discourse and said, and there's missing fragments, and from the words of the watchers and all the holy ones. That is verse 2. This says, and he began his story saying, I am Enoch, a righteous man, whose eyes were opened by God and saw the vision of the Holy One. The means one Holy One in heaven, which the angel showed me. And I heard everything from them, and I saw and understood, but it was not for this generation to know, but for a remote one which is to come. That's not here. I don't know where he got those words from. This says, and all the holy ones. And this one says the Holy One. This is why you have to always have backups and fact check, and always try to find the most original version of whatever it is. Even with the Bible, I tried to find the oldest. I have a 1611. There was a 15 something version. I try to get the oldest version that I can get. Okay. So, however, the book of Enoch does predate the Bible. It is the oldest book, I think, in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Enoch was Noah's great-grandfather. And I remember hearing about Enoch because I read the Bible, and I knew there was something wrong with the Bible as a child, growing up, even as like a young adult, because there are references to books that are not in the Bible. Why are there references to books that are not in there? Because they were taken out, right? And a lot of these books were found in the caves, in the Qumran caves, right? And what's so funny is that the Jesus that is in the Bible is like a different Jesus that's in the Nag Hammadi. Like the one in Nag Hammadi, he's almost like thugged out. Like that dude is cool, like in the Nag Hammadi. Anyway, so Enoch is referenced in Jude 1 and 14. It's referenced, it talks about Enoch. It's referenced also in 2 Peter 2 and 4, and referenced in 11:5, where they talk about, actually, I'll be right. Oh, it's right here. Let's get my Bible, but it's right here. So let me get this real quick so I can read it to you. I have books all over, guys. Okay. So in Jude is one of the last books. So this is my Bible, and I told you guys, like, I always studying text. So Jude. Okay, so Jude 1 and 14 says, all right, this is in the Holy Bible, Jude, book right before Revelation. It says, and Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of his saints. It's in here, but no one says, well, who's Enoch? No one asks about this, right? But it's in here, okay? Then 2 Peter 2 and 4. And this was one of the things that would baffle me growing up. Okay, so 2 Peter 2 and 4 said, for if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. It doesn't talk about this in the Bible. It talks about it in the books of Enoch. So Peter knew about these texts. He knew about Enoch. Why was it not in here? Why is this missing from here? Okay. And then Hebrews 11 and 5. Hebrews 11 and 5. It says, by faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found because God had translated him. Again, talking about Enoch, he's not anywhere else in the Bible. I mean, I maybe it's somewhere else in the Bible, but his story is not being told here, but it's in here. This is telling you that we have fragments of information all over, and we have to be able to decode the information that we have. This is why I can say that the Bible there's truth in the Bible. Are there lies in there? Yeah, but there's a lot of truth in here. But you only know the truth if you have if you're spiritual, if you have the knowledge to discern the truth, if you are able to, the riddles, if you're able to read the riddles, like that sage said in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the riddles and the parables, if you have the knowledge of the riddles and the parables and you can read that and be able to grasp what's truth from what's not truth, you're able to get the decodings, because the Bible is heavily decoded. There's information about astronomy, the stars. There's a whole thing with Orion's belt, 3 wise men, and Sirius, Saturn, and Satan, and there's just I won't get into that now. Okay, so the other interesting thing is that basically, so this was, Enoch was talked about in the Bible, but the book wasn't discovered until the middle of this century. They had it. It was available. It was hidden. It was hidden. Why was it hidden for over a millennia? It was removed in the 4th century, I believe. Why? And why does it appear now? Why does it magically appear now? There's reason for that. So we're going to go to the book of Enoch, Qumran 4 Qumran 201. And I'm going to read this again, what a proper one. It says, a vision of Enoch to the chosen. So Enoch has a vision to the chosen. Who are the chosen? Okay. So again, they're saying there's a group of people that are different, right? I taught you guys that there are 3 humans, there are 3 types of humans, and the spiritual ones would be considered the chosen ones, the chosen, okay? And from the words of the watchers and all the holy ones, not for this generation, but for a distant generation do I speak. So he's not speaking about his time, he's speaking about a distant time. But how do we know what that distant time is? Well, in the book of Enoch, he actually gives a calendar, a prediction, and it breaks down, the calendar is like days, like the first day, second day, but a day is like 1,000 years, 10,000 years. And weeks, excuse me, not days, weeks. Well, the 7th week is interesting. The 7th week, so I think the 6th week says like the people were scattered, the chosen were like scattered, right? But then the 7th week, like they came back. So it says, the 7th week, the election of the righteous shall be chosen to be witnesses of truth from the eternal plant of righteousness, to whom shall be given 7-fold wisdom and knowledge. Sevenfold wisdom and knowledge. And they will uproot the foundations of wrongdoing and the work of deceit to pass judgment on it. Okay? This is what we're doing. The spiritual ones are doing this. They're like, that's a lie, that's wrong, and I'm being bold with it. I'm fully confident in what I'm saying is truth, period. And I'm going to tell it to anyone, and I don't care what you think. This is what's happening now. Okay? There goes on to the 8th week, 9th week, and 10th week, which is, according to the book of Enoch, final judgment. And you can read this yourself, and you should read this yourself. All of these books, I'm going to have links to where you can get them on Amazon below. And I'm also going to link where I have there are books that are out of print. There's some books that I've been trying to get my hands on, but they're out of print. Again, remember I said around the mid 1950s, a lot of information started coming out. Well, a lot of these books are now out of print. The writer, the authors are deceased, and they know that we're getting this information. So some of the books are like $1,000, $700. I'm not paying that much, but I do have a website. I'll tell you about that more about more about it at the end. I will leave a link below. You can click on, I'll tell you now, you can click on the link. It's a website where you can download the books. Don't buy the books. You can download the out of print copies. And you'll see like the Spirit Doula family and literally Soul family, excuse me. And if you click on that link, you will get 2 free months. Okay. So if you do it yourself, you have to pay like, it's like $15 a month. But if you click on the link, I have it so that you can get 2 free months. And in 2 free months, you can download a whole lot of books. Okay. So take full advantage of that. So I'm going to leave the links to everything beneath. Just as I'm studying it, just as I have this information, I want you guys to have this information as well and for you to study it as well. Okay. Let's reel it back in. Okay, so now we're going to back to the Nag Hammadi. We're going to excerpt of perfect discourse. This is another one that I love. It's also talking about how we know that this time is now that we're speaking of, that this is not sometime in the future or sometime that already happened in the past. Okay, so it says, so this is the excerpt from the perfect discourse. Okay, and it's under the chapter, The World Will Be Desolate. On that day, the world will no longer be, oh, let me keep going. People will prefer darkness to light and death to life. No one will gaze up to heaven, right? I see them, the spraying of the chemtrails in the clouds, and I promise, I'm like, people don't see this. I have literally been with other soul family members and have seen things dart across the sky. And I'm like, did you see that? And they're like, yeah, I saw that. When I went to see my spiritual godmother in Las Vegas, I literally have it recorded. I was like, there's stuff like happening, like lights and stuff moving. She's like, oh yeah, that happens all the time. And I'm like, what is that? And she's like, I'm like, no one sees that? Like, what's going on? Okay. The godly will be considered mad, and the impious will be honored as wise, right? So the godly, the ones who are seeking truth, who are speaking truth, the spiritual ones are considered crazy. You're cuckoo. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? Right? This person, she's crazy, right? And the impious will be considered as wise. The coward will be considered strong, and the good person will be punished as a criminal. Okay? I see that all the time. I'm so sick of it, especially with our melanated women. I'm so sick of the woman who is so hurt, whose chakra is so blocked, being considered like the strong. She's the bad bitch. She's, you know, she's a strong one. And then the woman who is quiet, who's keeping her vibration strong, who may get into an altercation with this woman, and the woman's going off on her and yada yada yada, and she's like, oh, she got that off, she's, you know, she's a bad one, she's strong. And the other one seeming weak because you don't want to lower your vibration, and you're like, I'm just going to walk away, there's no point in this, but you seem like the coward. Okay. And I see this with men as well, where the strong men are looked at as cowards and the cowards are looked at as strong. It's very backwards right now. Concerning the soul and the things of the soul and whatever has to do with immortality, along with the rest of what I have explained to you, these things will not only be considered ridiculous, they will also be regarded as being nothing. So us who are talking about getting your soul right and your higher self is like, that's your soul. Like, it's almost like mocked, you know? And like, it's nothing. It's not that deep, you know? I'm going to get rich or die trying, or I'm going to hustle, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, whatever this mentality is right now that everyone is on. And when we're talking about our soul and feeding our soul, it's like, what? Okay, believe me, people like this will expose themselves to the ultimate danger of their souls. The truth is going to come out. It's going to be exposed, and a new law will be established. And the good spirits will depart, but the wicked angels will remain among the people. All right. In those days, the earth will be unstable. All these earthquakes that are happening right now, and and people will not discern the stars in the heaven. Now, I live in, anyone who lives in Northeast, New York, New Jersey, how many stars can you see? My daughter literally said to me, Mommy, there's 2 stars in the sky. And I said, no, sweetheart, that is Saturn and Jupiter and Venus. Those are not stars. Those are planets. Like, it's so rare to see stars because it's covered in, cloudiness or light pollution or chemtrails, that you can't even see the stars. We can't even, and if you can see them, people don't know what is, you know? Do you know what Orion's belt is? You know what that means? Like, these are important. You are spiritual. You need to understand some of the locations in the stars. You need to know where you come from. I know where I come from. Where do you come from? Do you know that? So this is what it's talking about. The air will be unhealthy. The air is unhealthy. This is the senility of the world. They forgot. And contempt for the noble words, contempt for truth. How many people hate when you speak the truth? You are just speaking the truth and people get mad. It's almost like people prefer lie than the truth. People literally get mad when you speak the truth. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. No, Santa Claus is not real. How could you do that to your child? How could you destroy their childhood? It's like, are you kidding me? No, I'm not doing Thanksgiving dinner. I just don't want to. Like, why would I be I don't want to celebrate Thanksgiving dinner. Oh, it's a family tradition. You are so blah, 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 blah. But do you know what Thanksgiving's about? Like, I really don't care either way, but like, I just don't want to take part in it. So why are you mad at me? I'm just telling you what the truth is, why I don't want to do it, but you're so angry with me. Doesn't make sense. Okay? This is what's happening now. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to go into one more text that is very important to me. Well, it's not even a text. So about well, early this year, my parents went on a vacation, and they went to Mexico. And when they came back, my mother, she usually, brings me jewelry. She knows I like, jewelry or crystals, or like, I told her I wanted something like some sort of Olmec or some sort of statue or something, clothing, like something. Anyway, my parents called me and they said, we have something for you. So what they gave me, I was so overwhelmed. I was brought to tears because they gave me a gift, a Mayan calendar. Why this is was so emotional for me is because I had been wanting a Mayan calendar for some time. Exactly 20 years ago, 1999, I was under the tutelage of Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, who he wrote They Came Before Columbus, Blacks in Science, The Moor, what was the name of the book? I forgot, The Mysteries of the Moor, I forgot the name of the book. But he was the one who found evidence that African peoples were on this continent before Columbus. He was a professor at Rutgers University, and I was doing research for him as a student. I was also under the tutelage of Dr. Kim Butler. She was the expert in South America, Brazil. He was the expert in Mexico and the Caribbean. And he sent me into Mexico on like this covert mission. Now, he was like, you're perfect to go there because you can fit in with the people there. They wouldn't know, like you're like, you look like you're from the coast, like Caribbean, and you speak Caribbean Spanish. So I literally had to infiltrate like institutions and like groups of people to get information, because there was some information that he wanted that it was kind of hidden. It's hard to get to. And he's kind of been like he was, I think he was like blacklisted from the British Museum because he like snuck in the basement and saw like some real stuff that was down there. So anyway, I went to the University of Guadalajara in Jalisco, Mexico. And how perfect was it that I took a class called, I don't know, Mexican Revolution or the history. I don't remember the class. But Guadalajara is a very conservative city, extremely conservative. And they speak like perfect Spanish. Like they pronounce every letter. Like they literally say, ¿Cómo estás? Okay? Or they say, ¿Qué hora es? So ¿Cómo estás means how are you? ¿Qué hora es means what time is it? I'm from the Bronx. Like, I don't know. I thought I knew Spanish until I went to Guadalajara, and I realized that I didn't know what they were speaking, because we don't say ¿Cómo estás? We say ¿Cómo está? ¿Cómo está? Like, ¿qué hora? Like, what time? We chop up the words, and that's because in the Caribbean, you have a mixture of indigenous, African, and Spanish languages all mixed up. So I'm in the class, and they are speaking perfect Spanish, and I'm like, what are they saying? And so it was a struggle for me. I was really trying hard to understand. And when it was my time, like I didn't want to speak. And I remember the first week, like he made me speak. And so I'm speaking in Spanish and he's like, ¿qué? And I'm trying to say it and he just didn't understand me. So he told me in Spanish, say it in English. Your English is probably better. No, my English is probably better than your Spanish, something like that. So I said it in English. Anyway, he took a liking to me. His name, Professor Oro Shandube. I don't even know if he's still alive, but he was like old. He was like in his 70s back then. And I actually found pictures of me and him. This was back in 1999. This is my friend, Claudia. And he took a liking to me. And he began to tell me that he's very tall and skinny, and he blue eyes, and like his hair is white, but you could tell it was blonde. And he said, do you believe I'm Mexican? I said, I guess so. He said, I am Mexican. I said, but you don't look Mexican. And he began to tell me that his father came from Germany, came with a group of anthropologists back in the early 1900s. And he was born in Mexico, hence his name, Otto Shundube. And he was actually a famous anthropologist, but he retired and was now teaching at the university level. And so we had a good relationship, and I opened up to him and I said, I'm looking for like some connections to like Africa, you know, African people and, you know, Mexico. And he was like, sure. So he took me to the museum. I don't remember the name, Museo de Guadalajara. I don't know what the name of the museum is. And in the museum, there was a room called Sala. And in the Sala, he said, this is like this, this is my Sala in Spanish. I was like, I didn't know what he was talking about. And he was showing me artifacts. And I was just like taking pictures. Like I can't wait to show Dr. Van Sertima this. But there were some things that just didn't add up to like some of the research that Dr. Van Sertima had. Anyway, so this is me. I found these pictures like this a few days ago. That's my friend Claudia. That's me, and that's Professor Shundube. You can see that is his Sala. His name, Oro Shundube Sala. So he actually had these statues and things that look like African Black people. And anyway, the research that I got was saying that whereas the thought was that Africans came here, it was kind of like people went there. Like there was a back and forth thing. Anyway, long story short, it was very confusing. I became, Dr. Van Serton was getting sick at he was older. I ended up using some of this research in a thesis, a book that I wrote, presented it to NYU, got a fellowship with the Schomburg Museum. They wanted me to go do more research. It was so overwhelming. The word diaspora, nobody knew what the word diaspora was. This was like 1999. I graduated in 2000. And there was no peers that I can talk to about this. Like there was like one other anthropologist studying like melanated people in Mexico. This was a Black guy. He spoke no Spanish. It was like a bunch of older white guys doing this at the time. And I was like 20 years old and I was overwhelmed. My soul literally was like, Melanie can't take it. And I went into a deep sleep for about 12 years, literally till about 2012, which I'm segueing into what we're going to talk about right now. So, the Mayan calendar. So, a little bit of history. When the Europeans came over here to the Americas, we're taught that the native people didn't have books. They didn't have any written language. Again, we learned that truth is lie, lie is truth. That's a lie. There were books. In 1542, Bishop Diego de Landa ordered hundreds of thousands of books be burned. There were written texts here. And what the written text revealed, like this is off subject, but there were people, it reveals a lot. Let me just say that. I'm not going to get into that right now. There was a lot that was revealed. And the crazy thing is that some of these texts are now being released at this time, age of Aquarius, age of information, okay? So maybe I'll do a video about that because that is so amazingly deep. But again, you can look it up. Bishop Diego de Landa, 1542, he ordered hundreds of thousands of books, scrolls be burned. So these Europeans came, they went to all the statues, like, the Olmec heads, all the statues, and chop their noses off. We want nothing that shows African. Big lips, chop them off. Noses, chop them off. Any African features, here, cut it off. Destroy. But what they did not destroy were the writings on the pillars and the walls, because the Mexican writings, they were engraved in stone. So in Egypt, it was like painted. In Mexico, it was like engraved, and it looked like drawings. It looked like artwork. They didn't know that they were actually words, that there were meanings behind it, because they would have destroyed that too, but they didn't. So here's what happened. In the early 1900s, groups of anthropologists came over. A huge group of Germans came over to Mexico and South America. And my professor, Oro Shindube's father, was one of them. And they realized that, wait a minute, these tablets, these things are not just pretty drawings, they're actually saying something here. Okay? And when they broke it down, they realized that it was apocalyptic text. Now, I talked about the Book of Enoch being an apocalyptic text. Well, the Mayan calendar is also considered apocalyptic text. And the reason being is because it says the world is going to end at this time. The Book of Enoch says that the world is going to end at a specific time as well. Hence, apocalyptic text. So they want to find out, like, when is the world going to end? So they did a series of calculations or whatever. Guys, you guys know how much I love numbers. And I always follow the numbers. And so I'm going to break this down. What they did is they decoded the Mayan calendar. When the Europeans came here, the last few Mayan, Aztec priests gave information. They didn't have full information because they murdered so many people and destroyed so much. So they gave what they knew to the what Europeans. Who knows what we were told and weren't told wasn't truth. But basically, this was like lost information until early part of the 1900s. So they basically several things. Two important numbers. The Mayans believed that there were 13 gods that created Earth. 13. Remember that number. And 13 is a powerful number. 13 is us. Okay? We are supposed to ascend past 12 to 13. Okay? So I won't get into that now either. They also said that during this apparently apocalyptic time, when these astrologers, these anthropologists said that the calendar says the world's going to end, and when the world ends, that there are going to be 9 angels that are going to descend to help a chosen group of people. Okay? 9 endings is going to help a group of chosen people to ascend, right? Okay? So now this is where it gets exciting, guys. This is where I love this. So there's the Mayan calendar goes into, it's called the long count. And I'm going to show you what this looks like. They were amazed that these Mayans were able to, their math was so amazing. And that's because the Mayans were us, because the Mayans were melanated beings. For real. I'm going to show you what the calendar looks like. So it looks like this. So we have this bigger cog. We have this one here. Then we have a smaller one. So this turns in a shorter period of time. This turns around, and then this turns around that, and then this one turns, okay? So there are 3 breakdowns, basically. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So the smallest one is called the Ba'aktun. Ba'aktun. Okay? Listen. The Ba'aktun is broken down into sets of 144,000. Let me say that again. 144,000. Have you heard that number before? Because it's written in the Bible. It's written in other ancient texts. 144,000. Okay? But let's go mathematically. 144 equals 9. Okay, so we have 9. The Ka'atun, which is a little larger, is broken down into 7,200 days. 7 plus 2 is 9. The Tun is broken down into 360 days. 3 plus 6 is 9. So we have 999, which equals 27, which equals 9. Gets deeper. So they were able to these anthropologists were able to backdate the Mayan calendar to be of a beginning date of 3,114 BCE, before the Common Era, right? 3,114. 3 plus 1 plus 1 plus 4 is what? 9. Okay? There are 13 Ba'aktuns. And I did a calculation somewhere. I did 13 times this, anyway. I was doing all kind of calculations when I saw these things. But there are 13 Ba'ak tunes, okay? Remember the Ba'ak tunes that I told you? Okay, which equals, well, yeah, there are 13 Ba'ak tunes. What I did is I multiplied 1,044 by 13, and I got like, where's my paper? Well, somewhere. I got like 1,872,000, I think, and that equals 9. Okay. So there are 13 Bach tunes, which would be 5,125 years. So if we go 3,114 BC and count 5,125 years, we get December 2012. So the anthropologists back then said, according to the Mayan calendar, the world is going to end in December 2012. Well, I'm still here. You're still here. So people said the Mayan calendar was wrong. The world didn't end December 2012. We're here. But something did happen December 2012. It was the age of awakening, the age of Aquarius. And in fact, before this happened, there was a professor who said, these anthropologists got it wrong. The world is not going to end. This is not what this is saying. It's saying something else. It's saying there's going to be a new era because there are different eras, which we know that there are various eras, okay? It said that December 12th, 2012, there would be 9 gods that were going to descend to help the chosen people in this new era. What were you doing December 2012? I remember I was on a cruise ship trying with the last effort to save my marriage. I was sick. I had already been sick because I knew I was not supposed to stay in this relationship. And I remember telling my ex-husband, I can't do this. I want a divorce. I remember that. From that point, 2012, for the next 3 years, my life was total and complete chaos. But it was so good because it brought me to a place of levels of spiritual integration, levels and levels and levels. Okay. So how do we know that this Mayan calendar is like correct? How do we know this is just not made up? Well, the proof is that the Mayans predicted that the Europeans were going to arrive. They predicted that these white-skinned people would come from the East that would have false stories on their tongues, that they would be liars. And they predicted it the Cartoon 13. And they said when Cartoon 13 happened, it would be the end of their reign. So Cartoon 13, they came. The predictions were true. It was the end of their reign because, as we know, the Spaniards basically decimated the Aztecs. Okay? So this is evidence that this is happening now. The Mayan calendar proves it. We are in the age of awakening. We are in the age of information. We are in the age of the water bearer. And in this age, there is a chosen group of people. I proved it through numerous texts. I broke it down to you in video 2 with the subatomic this energy, with the I can't even talk straight, right? With the intermingling, right? I know there's more information out there. Maybe you have some more information that you can share with me. There is a special group of people. They are the spiritual. Remember, there are 3 beings: spiritual, physical, and material. Spiritual is already in you. There's nothing you can change. You are what you are. When I say soul family, that's what I'm talking about. When I'm speaking of my soul family, that's what I'm talking about. I know who I am. I know where I come from. So the people who resonate with me at a subatomic level, at a cellular level, that you're like, I just resonate with her, I just don't know what it is. Somebody sent me, we have a soul family member, Pere, and she said, when I saw you, it was like you were my sister. And so she sent me a picture and I was like, what? We look the same. Her daughter looks like my daughter. It's crazy. I don't know her. I've never met her before. We have no family in common. How is that possible? There's so many other soul family members that we have crossed paths in our lives. Like, there's no way that I didn't see you growing up, or you didn't see me, or you live in that city. I was just there last week. We are unionizing this year. When I woke up this rising and I heard, they are not the chosen people, you are the chosen ones, and it woke me up out of my sleep. Where did that come from? It is because these books, Enoch said the chosen ones. These other texts talked about the chosen ones, the spiritual ones, the ones that are predestined, predetermined, that was known since the beginning, the spiritual ones. You are who you are. And then you have the physical, those who are pretending to be that which they are not, those whose ego comes forward. There's no ego here. There should be no ego in this. It can't be. This is a process and we're learning together. I don't know everything. Like, I don't want to know everything. I want to be able to say, hey, read this book. And maybe you read the book and you say, hey, Melanie, look what I found from the book. Like, teach me something. We are here to empower each other, to help each other to ascend together. We have a job to do. We have a mission to do. We are here on a mission. Again, this is not for everyone. And that's fine. This video, I don't even know how long this video is. It may be 2 hours long. Some people, like I said, some people tune out a long time ago. They're just like, she's just rambling on and on. It wasn't for them anyway. They're not in the soul family. It's not that many. It's more material beings, humans in this world, than there are spiritual beings in this world. I read that to you as well. There's more physical, and you have to be careful of the physical because they can go evil or they can go good. But it's work, and most of them go evil. Okay? You have to be careful of the soothsayers, those who give you that good feeling. You know, you go to church so that you can just feel good. How many people have told me that? Like, I go to church on Sunday just so I can get a good feeling for the rest of the week. Like, well, that's bullshit. If you're going to anything, you should be learning. We are out here learning. How many of you are like hungry to learn? I get emails like, what is that book you talked about? Where can I find the book? Can you give me a list of books that you're reading? And I'm like, yes. I'm not going to give you a list of books because it will confuse you. What do you want to know right now? Your soul is asking for a specific question. I can lead you to that specific book. But we are hungry for knowledge because something has switched on, something has turned on within us. That's like, wake up. It's time to go. We have awakened. We are aware now. Our gifts are manifesting. I spoke to someone this week and she was just like, there's so much happening. Like, I don't like, what's going on? And I'm like, calm down. A lot of you are going through, I call it like a crash. So for me, I had years to process it. My gifts came in like a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. I had that period in Colombia where a lot of stuff came in, but I was able to step back from my life here and experience it. Some of you are like this. I woke up this morning and all these things are happening. I'm seeing things and hearing things and this, that, and that. And you're not going crazy. This is part of it. This has to happen at this time. Everything is aligning right at this time. The energies, the planets, just everything, the stars, everything is aligning perfectly at this time. So Question is, are you spiritual? Are you physical? Or are you material? If you're material, there's no material person that is even listened to like a minute of this. Period. They would have thought I was crazy from the jump. But if you are not, maybe you're not spiritual, maybe you're physical, fine. There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is if you choose to go the evil way, to the material side, okay? So for my soul family members, I hope that this information, I hope that I was able to teach you something new, or if you knew this already, I hope that I was able to edify and share some new insight with you. I hope that this resonated with you. I want you all to get these books, study. Again, the most important thing is for you to have knowledge of self, your higher self. You need to know who you are. When I say your higher self, let me explain this to you. I mean all of yourselves, okay? I was literally shown like, because I asked like, what is the higher self? And I was literally shown like me, right? And then it was shown like me turning, and there was like a line of men and women and all kind of people like lying behind me. All of those were me. All of that. All of those experiences that I had in my past lives that are all within me now, which is why my higher self is so powerful, which is why it can guide me. It knows everything. It sees everything. That's who you need to connect with. That's who's going to guide you. You. It's you. And then you have assistants. You have your spiritual family. You have your ancestors. You have certain deities that you connect to that are there to assist you. Okay? Not to worship. You don't worship anything outside of you, but it's for you to connect to, for you to get help and support. Okay? So I say this to all my soul family members. I'm excited for this. I'm excited to be here at this time. It's going to get crazy for some people, but we are good. We are protected. We are loved. We cannot be fooled. Remember that. We know the truth. You know the truth. It's in you. Don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt your spiritual gifts. Don't doubt your spirituality. I read it to you. You cannot be fooled. No one can fool you. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe, there's some people that I listen to on YouTube that have maybe 1,000 followers, with 1,000 subscribers, or 2,000 subscribers, and they speak more truth than the one that has 1 million. It's ridiculous. As a matter of fact, there are some that have 1 million subscribers that steal information from the ones that have like a few thousand subscribers. It's wild. But here's the thing: they can repeat the truth information, but it's not coming from a true place, so it won't even resonate with the true people. It'll just fall into the ears of the physical, the ones who are after the material anyway. Doesn't matter. But you don't fall for it. Okay? You make sure you fact check. You make sure you're studying. You make sure you're meditating. Okay? It's going to be all good. It's going to be okay. Like, yes, you are amazing. I love you. If you have questions, personal questions, you can email me. I promise I will get back to your email. If I don't get back in a couple of days, some of you send long emails, and that's fine. Just give me some time to read it and respond. I do take my time to respond to your emails, but I will always respond to emails. If you want to schedule a spiritual consultation because you feel like this is too much, I need some guidance, or I have some questions more than just an answer by email, you can go to thespiritdoula.com and set up a spiritual consultation with me. Okay? If you have an emergency and I don't have anything available immediately, just let me know. I'm here to help and support you guys. I truly am. And I understand that emergencies happen. There have been mornings where 3 o'clock in the morning where I'm up and not feeling like I wanted to be alive anymore. And I had no one. And my grandmother, my grandmother who's not physically here, put me to sleep. She literally knocked me out because I did not want to exist anymore. And if you get to a point where you feel like that, because I understand what that feels like, you reach out to me, okay? You are not in this alone. You do have a soul family. There's not a lot of us out here. You do have people that are in the truth, that are seeking knowledge, that are here because their goal is to ascend. Again, you're not alone. All right? If this video resonated with you, if anything what I said resonated with you, and I said a lot, or if you have a quick question, please leave in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe. I have so much more that's coming up. The Spirit Doula Academy is starting in January. More information about that, I guess, in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I love you all. I'm so happy that I got this out. The soul family. Oh my gosh. Love you all. Bye-bye.